there was nothing to do. You're there in the English countryside, hell.
Were you able to travel away? Did you ever go into London at all?
Well, when we got a chance, we'd maybe get a weekend pass into London or to Cambridge. Not too often, but we did. Yeah, we managed to leave and go into London for a weekend. We were, I guess we were, well, I'm going to say a little over 100 miles from London, where my air base was. And we went in by train when we went.
Mm-hmm. Did the missions get any more long or any more complicated as you stayed, as you continued?
It's hard to say, because it was all, targets were picked for the advantage that we needed to try to get by taking out that target. So, there was no specific, except some of the main toughest targets were ball bearing factories, airplane factories, oil refineries. Those were the ones early in the war that we were trying to take out, of course.
You're flying over. At some point in advance of the target, you got the Germans who are flying in opposition to you coming up.
No question. A lot of times, German fighters would hit us before we much more than got across the English Channel.
Now, how does that work? How does it work for you? You're on the side of the plane. You're inside the plane, right? Are you seated during the flight over? Do you sit down? Do you stand the whole way?
Not a box or anything, that's all.
If there's a box for you to sit. I've actually walked through a B-17 on the ground. There's nothing there.
That's right. That's right.
And so you're sitting there and you're trying to keep warm, right? You've got your electric thermal as you fly higher and higher, right?
Yeah.
And you've got oxygen on, and you're talking. It's all you do, and it's really loud inside that.
Well, you have headphones on too.
Right. That's how you're hearing things, right?
Yeah.
But it's really the wind. Is wind coming through there?
Well, those open windows in the waist, there's wind coming in. Yeah. Now later on, after I was there a while, they did put closed-in windows that the machine gun could be mounted through. So I did not fly all of my missions in open window aircraft.
What does a German plane look like the first time you see it? What's that sensation like? Do you remember the first time you saw that plane coming around?
Well, the two planes that were the biggest opposition to us was Messerschmitts and Focke-Wulfs. And you could tell the difference between them, but they were recognizable. I knew who they were when I saw them.
And they're trying to knock you guys out of the sky.
Let me tell you, that's exactly right. And a lot of times they would get out ahead of you. They'd try to come in out of the sun so you wouldn't see them. Or a lot of times they'd get out ahead of your formation and make a frontal attack, flying right into, you're coming one way and they're coming at you the other. And they came right in through your formation. I've seen them close enough that you could see the pilot sitting in there in the cockpit. Oh, yeah.
Were you able to knock out any yourself, Mr.?
I got credit for one.
Thank you. Everybody's firing at the same time, aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
That's all they can do, right?
And let me tell you, any number of times there were accidents. As we would be going across the channel on a mission, before we actually got into enemy territory, you had test firing of your guns. You wanted to make sure all those guns were working. And invariably in the test firing, there'd be a couple airplanes shot down.
Really?
Yeah. This kind of thing. See, people didn't see and hear all of this in the news, but it went on all the time.
You gotta keep going. You have to keep going.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and That's how it's going, and you're working this every day. So your day, then your days off, you just not do a whole lot,
Oh,
right?
yeah, that's right.
You just try to take it easy.
Yeah.
And these guns that you're operating inside the waist, they're heavy. They're heavy guns, or they?
Oh, sure,
They're heavy to move. It's just you that's operating them, right?
Yeah.
And they have a is it a bandolier of machine guns?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Is that does it sit in a box and is fed
Yeah,
into it?
they're in cases, and they're on like tracks that carry them right into your gun.
Carry them right in, huh? Where do the shells go? Do they go all around you inside the?
Once they've been fired,
Yep.
we were stumbling around in them. They'd be this deep.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Thought maybe I could get a decent picture. Well,
Yep. Let's see.
there's a picture of the waist with the two gunners in it.
Yeah. Look at that. Let's see. There's a picture. There's a picture of the waist with the two gunners. They're not as good looking as you are. Now, man, there's no room in there.
Oh no, you know it's.
Holy cow! There really isn't any room. Yeah, I remember it being tight, but look at that. There's no room. Now, what are these? What are these up top here? You know what they are? These boxes. Look at that. These are the guns, right? Oh, and this is your window, right? This is your.
Here, they're looking out the.
They're looking out the window.
See, he's got a hold of a machine gun right
Yeah.
there.
And is this a window right there too?
Yeah.
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 And he's looking at that. And that's what you get to see. Now, is the bomb bay underneath you?
It's ahead of you and below you. Yeah.
Ahead of you and below.
Yeah.
And that's what you're in. That's what you're in. That's a thankless job, isn't it? Oh, holy cow! And that's the deal with the crew. You've got the pilot and the co-pilot. You got a navigator and a radio man. Are they all officers?
The pilot, co-pilot, navigator, and bombardier.
Bombardier is okay. The bombardier
Radio
is.
operators and enlisted men.
Who's the head guy of the enlisted crew?
I don't even know if there was one.
No. Well, you're. What was your rank?
Staff sergeant. We all were.
You're all staff sergeants. Okay. All right. And so you're in there and you're going out. Now, is your crew fortunate enough to stay together through all these missions? It's the same group?
Yes. In fact, I was wounded on my 25th mission, or I would have had to have flown 30.
Oh, man.
The rest of the crew, besides me and the other waist gunner, the other members of the crew did fly 30 missions. But he and I, because we were wounded, were not able to continue to fly, so the 25th was our final mission.
Harold, tell me a little bit about some of these missions before you led up to the last mission. You have a list of these missions there in the book, I think.
Yeah.
Do you remember them? You go past D-Day. It's still 1944. Where are your missions to?
I can tell you exactly.
Let's talk about them. See what you can remember after D-Day. D-Day's June 6th.
Well, some of them were into France.
Where are they? Can you read it? Why don't you read for us where some of the locations are that you're flying?
Well, one was from Florence. One was Boulogne. And then Hanover, Germany. Another Hanover, Germany. Berlin. Paris. It was just, there was no rhyme or reason as to where you were going. It was where something needed to be taken out to help our war effort. That was.
And when they would take you guys off, when you would take off from your air base, you would meet up with other planes.
Oh,
That's typically how it
yeah.
was for each big mission.
Oh
missions?
yeah.
How many planes are we talking? How many bombers are we talking about?
There were times in height of the war that there could be as many as 1,000 American bombers in the air over the enemy territory.
You'd be looking at them left all around you,
Well, they weren't all close enough that you could see them.
but you were going. You're
Going to different targets, not all going to the same.
not all going to the same. How about what was the greeting like for you on your way to Berlin? Was that
Tough, really heavily defended.
Yeah, I'll bet.
But this is kind of off the record, but everyone used to complain that the Germans would bomb the cities in Great Britain, indiscriminately bombing, killing people, whatnot, as if we didn't do that. But the very first mission that I flew to Berlin was on a Sunday morning. And it was not a military target, it was the city of Berlin. So, it's a game we were playing.
It's a game. It's the way it is.
Yeah.
It's the way.
Yeah.
It's not pretty. It's not.
But that, that's about it.
Your mission, all these missions. Are you thinking? You're hoping. You're aiming to get to 30 missions. Is what you're aiming for, right?
Well, yes.
So you can stop. Does the crew talk about that? Do the guys talk about that?
Some, not too much. The worst thing in the world you could hear someone talking about is they're afraid that they're going to get shot down tomorrow or something. And sure as hell they usually did.
Yeah. Can I ask you? Do you, if you care to talk about it? You knew guys of these other crews, and you all went up together and.
Never got to be too close with other people.
Okay, you never got to be too. You just tried not.
Because it just didn't pay.
How about within your own crew? Did you stay close?
Yeah, but not not really that.
You didn't, yeah. And obviously, Harold, you would see these other planes hit.
Oh,
all the time.
All the time.
And what do you think?
Well, at least it wasn't me.
Yeah, yeah. Would you see guys bail out? Did
Yeah.
you see them bail out?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
But saw lots of planes go down that they didn't bail out.
Yeah. Does that harden you? Does that make you just hope
Yeah.
you don't get hit?
You're just. I think I would have to say. You hear people say, they were in combat and they were fighting and they were giving their lives for this country, and when you were in combat, you were fighting to save your own damn life. That's what you were doing. When it came right down to it. You know what I'm saying?
I do. Are you able to eat when you're flying? Do you have
No.
anything up there?
Nothing to eat.
Nope.
We carried some pieces of hard candy that you could suck on. No, nothing to eat all while you were gone.
Could you drink anything? Could you drink any fluids?
No.
It's because why? Why couldn't you?
You're oxygen. You're on oxygen.
No wonder you're so exhausted when you get back. There's nothing that you can't really have anything to eat or
No.
to do. How do the pilots fly at 28,000 feet without? So they face the same thing you are back in the.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you just got to keep that. How do you keep the windshield from freezing up?
See, they had some little bit of heat up on the flight deck from the engine. To, I guess, keep, truthfully, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. The 25th mission. Tell me about what happened there.
It was not a long mission. It was a mission that was it was maybe 30, 40 miles out of Paris,
Uh-huh.
which was not a real long mission from England. We had already dropped the bombs and then turned for home.
Mm-hmm.
And we were, starting on the return back, we were within sight of Paris. In fact, when I got hit, I was looking right down on the city of Paris.
What happened? How did you get hit?
got hit with a piece. It was a anti-aircraft shell exploded underneath the airplane, and pieces of it got me and the other waist gunner
Where were you hit?
here in the shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there was no way of telling how hard you were hit. It knocked me head over heels when I got hit, of course, and was bleeding. Could feel it. Could feel the warm blood. The other waist gunner got shot in the arm, and one of the other crew members did come back and try to help us, you know, to get patched up some. And got patched up enough till we got back home, but the plane was badly shot up.
If the shell exploded, but it obviously came through the bottom of the.
Well, yeah.
And it
When
some
we got
serious
back to
damage.
the air base, it was, well, it was just almost an emergency landing. One landing gear was completely shot off the airplane.
So it's an emergency landing as well, huh? One landing gear had been shot off. This is the 25th mission, huh?
Yeah.
So you're wounded,
Yep.
and the other waist gunner's wounded.
Right.
And how long is it from the time you're wounded to the time you wind up coming into land? You remember?
I'm guessing. I'm gonna say an hour and a half.
So they're bringing you back, and here's your pilot communicating with the others in the form. You're all in formation coming back,
Yes.
and the pilot knows you've got a. Oh, does he know at that time that he's got a bad landing gear?
Well, he knows the plane is damaged,
Yeah.
but he didn't actually know to lose back over the air base, and it was time to lower the landing gear, and it was only half there.
Now, when he goes to lower the landing gear, does he know it, or does somebody in another plane tell him, "Hey, your landing gear is not all out"? How do they know that?
It probably was done, but I didn't know it, of course.
Did they tell you that they were coming in with bad landing gear at that time?
No.
No? They just didn't bother. Okay, so, now, when you say bad landing gear, does the plane have 2 front wheels and a back wheel?
Yeah, it was tail dragger type airplane. Yeah,
Uh-huh. Which piece was out?
the right landing gear was.
The right wheel's bad.
Yeah.
So you're coming in, you're wounded.
Yeah.
Now, you're here today to tell me this, so obviously we made it through.
Right.
But are you aware? You're not aware at this time you're coming in with a bad
well, I
wheel?
knew we were in trouble because he was able to land on the one wheel and tried to hold it on that wheel. But
Yeah.
as the plane slowed down, it, of course, flopped over and it went out through the grass off the runway, you know.
But you landed.
Yeah.
And that's your last mission.
Yeah.
That's your last combat mission.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Well, I went straight to the hospital from the airplane.
They pulled you out. Now, do you remember what day that was? What?
Yeah, it was the 22nd of June.
June 22nd, 1944.
Right.
So between April 26th, in 2 months, you flew 25 combat missions.
Right.
Basically one every other day, if not.
Yeah, well, that was right at the height of the war.
They get you off the plane.
Yeah.
They get you over. Where's the hospital? Is it right there on the base?
No, but it wasn't too far. But, you know, it was called a hospital.
Okay.
It was glorified tents is what it was.
What happened to you? What had happened to you with the wounding? Where you were wounded underneath the arm?
Went right in here.
What did they do?
They just tried to sew me up. The part that hit me did not go internally into my body. It hit here and went out across, taking all this muscle with it, but went on. So they just had to try to sew me up.
That's all. That's what they did for you, huh? This is June of 1944. What happens then after your surgery? Are you recuperating there in that hospital tent?
Yes, but then I went back to my air base
Okay.
and was there just temporarily, really, till I got orders to ship back stateside.
Now, okay, the hospital was fairly close. The hospital that you went to, the hospital tent where the surgery was, it was fairly close to the base.
Yes, yeah, no.
Okay, and you're back to your air base. And how many days after June 22nd was it that you went back to your the air base?
I think it was maybe 2 weeks or so.
So it took you a couple weeks to recuperate in the hospital?
And it took quite a long after that for therapy, because when I was first released from the hospital, I couldn't even lift my arm up.
Mm-hmm.
So it took a lot of therapy to be able to use my arm and my hand. But it all came all right.
Mm. Where'd you go then? They back to the air base, and then they ordered you stateside. Where did they send you to?
You mean stateside?
Mm-hmm.
When I come back to stateside, of course, I immediately got, I think it was a 21-day furlough or something. Went to Atlantic City. It was kind of a recreation area. And from there, I was assigned to an aerial gunnery instructor's course
Mm-hmm.
in Laredo, Texas.
So, before Atlantic City and then Laredo, Texas, let me ask you a question here. You're wounded, you go to the hospital, you're spending a couple weeks in the hospital
Yeah.
area? Okay, it's more like a tent. So a hospital tent, or is it a building?
Well, it's kind of a combination of
Combination. But it's all there at the base.
Yeah. Well, it's not far from the
Not
base.
far. And the therapy that you got to try to get your arm back and forth, was that in England or in the United
Oh
States?
no, that was in England.
That was all in England.
Yeah.
And and how many weeks after you were wounded were you sent stateside to Atlantic City? Do you remember?
No.
Okay, not a problem. We'll get to that. And then in Atlantic City, did you go home at all? Did you go to?
Oh
did you
yeah,
go back
I was
to
home for 21-day furlough.
21 days.
Yeah.
All right. So how did you get back home? How did you get from England back to the United States?
Ship.
You took a ship back.
It was a ship. It was a British ship called the Aquitania.
Aquitania? Okay.
And on that ship, it was not only full of us coming back, there was a great number of German prisoners being sent from there to the United States. We had a lot of German prisoners here during the war. I don't know if you knew that or not. That ship brought a number of German prisoners on the same cruise that I was on.
Where did the ship dock when it came back?
New York.
Who met you in New York? Do you remember? Anybody? Were you met by anybody?
No.
Mm-mm. What did you have to do? Did you get
Well, was only there a few days, really. I think it was when we docked to New York. When we was taken off a shipboard, one of the camps in New Jersey, I even forget the name of which one, we was just there a couple of days and came down to Fort Meade, where I was given my 21-day furlough from Fort Meade.
And then you went from Fort Meade to where?
Went on the furlough. And then when the furlough was over, I went to Atlantic City to be reassigned.
I got it. So your furlough was back home in Pennsylvania for a
Yes,
few weeks.
yes.
Now, how was that going back home? Pretty good?
Yeah.
Yeah? Good. Yeah. Was it sort of weird to have been in the
sure.
thick of all that?
The war was still...
Oh, yeah. It's July of 1944.
yeah. Yeah.
The war, it's hot.
Oh, yeah. So when that furlough was over, I went to Atlantic City and was reassigned to a gunnery instructor school in Laredo, Texas.
Why did they send you to Atlantic City?
Oh, it was a recreation deal. It was kind of like a,
Good. Did you have fun while you were there? Did you take it easy?
yeah, that's all you did. That's a
How long were you?
wonderful food, and
Oh, that's good.
I think I was there 2 weeks or something.
So you had 3 weeks in Pennsylvania back home, and then to Atlantic City for a couple weeks, and now how are you feeling physically at that point?
Well, I'm pretty good by that time.
Yeah, and then off you go to gunnery school, not to gunnery instruction. You're going to be this. You're going to be learning to be an instructor.
Yeah.
Good. So this is 44, and they send you to Reno, Nevada. Where's gunnery instructor school?
No, Laredo, Texas.
I'm sorry, Laredo, Texas. You were all over the place.
Oh, well, everyone in the Air Force was.
Laredo, Texas. Now, do you remember how you got to Laredo?
Train.
Train again.
Train.
So, what's it like you've been in combat, you've been through all this, now you're going the other way. Now you're going back down to Texas to train people. Do you have a different view of the people you're seeing going the other way? What's it like?
Well, there was a number of people with me that had come back from combat the same time I did. So that when I was in the instructor school, everybody that was in that instructor school were ex-combat that had just come back the same way as I did. But we were teaching fellas to be aerial gunners because they still needed them in Europe.
How does that work? First, you're going to a gunnery instructor school. You're going to learn to be an instructor?
Right.
How long does that last?
Now I'm going to have to look.
Now I've got the hard questions for you. We know that at some point here you're going to be discharged.
6 months
6 months of teaching, of you
in that school.
learning how to be an instructor.
Right.
What kinds of things do they teach you? And first of all, how are your spirits? How are you doing at this point? You doing okay?
Yeah.
You're feeling okay? You're hanging in there with everything? You're doing good? You've been through all that combat and you're physically good? And how do they train you to be an instructor?
Well, that's a hard thing to say because I probably knew more than the instructors did.
I'm wondering. Yeah.
But, you know, they taught you how to, conduct training classes and take people that didn't know from nothing and start instructing them. And it was just instructing to be an instructor is what it really amounted to.
What happened at the end of that 6 weeks?
At the end of that 6 weeks,
Was it 6 weeks or 6 months?
no, it was 6 weeks.
6 weeks. Got it. Okay.
When I finished that, I was sent to Kingman, Arizona. To instruct new gunners.
Can you give me an example? If I were a new gunner, what would you be teaching me? Give me a couple of examples.
Most of it was in the use of turrets, gun turrets, not handling just flexible machine guns, but the turrets.
I wonder if you could help explain a gun turret. Here's a. Oop, I don't want to ruin that. Sorry. You have turrets on here, right? You want to hold that up and show maybe what the top turret looks like?
That's it right there. See the guns coming out of that turret?
Yeah. Let's see. There we have. There's your top turret on the right there. So you were teaching them how they work in that. Now, how are there other turrets on a B-17?
Yes. There was also a ball turret. It's not on here.
Not on
There's a
there.
ball turret underneath. But here, this turret is right behind the flight deck where, you know, the pilot and co-pilot. the flight engineer operated this turret. He was standing with his head up in this turret, but his controls turned this whole turret, guns and all. He wasn't holding the guns, he was operating the turret.
Uh-huh.
And the same thing, there was a ball turret underneath. There was a ball turret operator down in that ball turret.
Were you training them how to be ball turret guys too?
Oh, sure.
So tell me a little bit about when you're in the turret itself. You're standing on the top one, the top turret that's on the roof. He's standing up in there, huh?
His head's up in there. He's standing below.
He's standing below. He can see out. He can see out.
Yes, he
and
can.
the guns are firing. Does he press something to fire the guns?
Oh, yeah, and he has controls to control that. Don't worry about that.
Okay.
Help with that, man.
Okay.
Yeah, his hands are on controls that are controlling that turret, not just the guns, but the turret itself.
Yeah.
So that when he's aiming at another aircraft, he's aiming that turret to fire at that aircraft.
The ball turret gunner. You train him.
Same thing. He's down in that ball turret. He actually is sitting down that ball turret, and his controls are moving that ball turret around.
What I would feel so exposed in that ball turret.
Big pardon?
I would feel very exposed.
And isolated. You're down in there with the door closed. You're sitting down in that ball turret.
It must be scary to be a ball turret gunner
No question.
to see everything
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
and to be it's kind
And
of
you're
a target.
looking down at the ground where all that stuff's coming up, from any aircraft and all. Oh, yeah.
The turret, the gunner, the turret gunners. You got the waist gunners, the top turret gunner, the ball turret gunner.
There's a tail gunner.
Yeah.
He's back in the tail.
Yeah.
And up in the front, the bombardier and the navigator have guns up in the front part of the airplane that they handle.
Oh man.
Oh, yeah.
The rear turret, the rear guy, he's shooting out back here. Oh, I see. He's back there.
Yeah,
Huh?
that's right.
Now he can see.
Oh, yeah, he can see out.
He has to crawl back there.
Big pardon?
Does he have to crawl? CRAWL? Does he crawl to the back? Or
Yes,
is he...
yes,
Yeah. So that's
yeah.
yeah. He's crawling back there, huh? Wow. Sorry
That's
about
all
that.
right.
I don't
That's
want
all
to ruin that. So they're all back in there, and it's tough on everybody.
Oh, there's no place good. No, there sure isn't. It's all combat, and it's rough combat.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
You're training these guys in Kingman, Arizona. Do you fly up in the planes with them?
Yes,
Uh-huh.
yes, we would fly out on gunnery ranges out in what is today called the Yucca Flats. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. Bombing ranges and still out there. But we went out there, and there was ground targets, and we'd fly down low and have these student gunners firing at those targets on the ground.
Mm-hmm. How long were you out there in Kingman, Arizona? This must be late 1944, early 45, maybe.
Here, I was there for 6 months.
What months were they? Harold, do you have that written down there? You see it?
No, I don't.
No? Okay, 6 months.
At the end of the 6 months, they closed that airbase. They shut it down because now things are starting to slow down some as far as the war effort's concerned.
When you were staying at this Kingman, Arizona, where did you stay? Did they have you in Quonset huts?
See, I lived in town because I was married then.
Oh, let's hear about that. Now, how did that good news happen? How did that good news happen?
No, actually we were married before I went into active service. While I was waiting in that wait time to go into active service, I was married. So when I went into active service, I was married.
Your wife was from where?
She was from a little town right near New Florence, Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
While I was overseas, she took a job down here at the Glen L. Martin Company in the engineering department. And she was down here at Glen L. Martin's all the while I was in the service. And that's how, when I was discharged from the service, this is kind of off the record, but when I was discharged from the service, she still had her job here. That's how we ended up here, and we've been here ever since.
Oh, that's nice. That's very nice. You have. Tell me more. You're in the Kingman, Arizona. You guys were staying together in town.
Yeah.
All right. So, what year were you married?
1942.
Before you even went
Into active
into active service, into active duty. Okay. So you're about 23 years old when you were married. 20.
I was 21.
You were 21. Right. You're not right. No, you were 21 years old. That's really nice. That's nice. And what happens? And you guys are married. Was your wife the same age? You guys about the same
She's
age?
a year and a half younger.
Year and a half younger. Okay. And then you're over there, and then so obviously you communicated and were writing her back and forth and stuff. Good. And then you came back and spent time together after you were
When I
recovering?
came back to the States, she gave up her job with Glen L. Martin.
Okay.
And so she traveled with me to Laredo, Texas, and Kingman, Arizona. She was with me.
Good. And then you were in Kingman, Arizona, and you stayed in town. Did you say in Kingman, Arizona? Yeah. Yeah. How about that? That's good.
Well, then,
Beats the heck out of.
and then I wound up going back to Laredo, Texas, because they closed the Kingman School. Went back to Laredo, Texas. She, of course, was with me,
Mhm.
and that's where I was discharged from, Laredo, Texas.
What did you do for the final months before you were discharged in Laredo?
Taught in the gunnery school there.
Continued to teach.
Yeah.
Yeah, they weren't sure. Okay.
That school was still active.
How did you learn you were going to be discharged, or how did that all come about?
Beg pardon?
How did you learn you were going to be discharged? How did that all come
Well,
about?
what happened was at that time, you're probably not familiar with this, but they decided the war was now settling down, and they were beginning to discharge people. They weren't going to keep everyone that was in the service because practically the entire civilization was in the service.
Mm-hmm.
They had a point system,
Mm-hmm.
and they were letting the people be discharged by the number of points that they had. You got points for the length of time in the service, for the combat that you served in, what kind of decorations you got when you were in combat. You all got points for all of this. I had a high number of points, so that I was among the first to be discharged from the service, and that's how it was determined when I got discharged from the service.
And you're discharged in October of 1945?
Yes.
And where were you discharged from?
Laredo, Texas.
And your wife was with you at that time?
Yes.
That's nice.
Yeah.
And what did you do from Laredo? You came back?
We came back to Pennsylvania, just stayed there for a month or so, and came back to Baltimore, and have been in Baltimore ever since.
And what did you do in Baltimore after the war? What did you do?
Mostly construction type work, construction engineering and whatnot.
And you had your degree? Did you get your degree?
I never did get the degree. I got interrupted so badly, but I took some other courses and all after that, but I never actually did get the degree.
And you had a career, you were telling me earlier. What was your career after the war? Who did you work for?
Patio enclosure.
Patio enclosures. And you were in sort of outside sales with them? And
Yes.
Very
And
good.
sales and engineering.
Sales and
See,
engineering.
because when you sold something, you actually designed it right then and there on that property while you were selling it. I did, and wrote up so that the units were manufactured, and then we had installation crews that put them in.
And you lived here in the Baltimore area,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, we've lived here in Baltimore since 1946.
1946. And where did you live in Baltimore?
Well, we lived in a couple of different places in apartments,
Mm-hmm.
and then finally bought a home down in Linthicum. I don't know if you've
Linthicum, okay.
lived in Linthicum 40 years.
40
before we
years.
came here.
And you've been here, how many years have you been here now?
It's almost 20.
Almost 20 years. And did you take any more classes after the war? Did you take advantage of the GI Bill at all after
No.
the war? How about the groups that you were associated with? Were there any? Did you have an association group with the people the bomber group that you fought with? Did you keep in touch with the bombing crew that you were with?
Oh, yes.
Tell me about that.
The 94th Bomb Group, we had a retirement association for years and years. In fact, it's only been disbanded about 5 years now. Everybody got so old that nobody kept it up anymore.
Yeah. It was a 94th Bomb Group. That's the group that your particular flight crew belonged to.
Yes.
94th Bomb Group.
Yeah, this is the history of it right here.
And it's called the Big Square A.
Yeah.
Right. And that's who you belong with. And that picture you were showing me.
See, it's a 94th Bomb Group. That's my group's history right in there.
Now, did you go on reunions? Did you go?
Oh, sure.
You went on regular reunions?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you went on
Yeah.
regular reunions. Tell me about your flight crew. Did you keep in touch with your flight crew after the war?
Some, but not too much, because they just were scattered to all areas. Two were in California, I think, and one in Texas somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And just over the years, just got separated from them.
Did the guy who was the captain of your crew? First of all, these guys, after you were wounded on your 25th mission, did those guys make it through 5 more missions?
Yes, they did.
They were okay, and then they were
Yeah.
free from having to do more combat.
Now, the fellow who was my captain, Adam Getty, who was the captain of the airplane I flew on, he stayed in the service.
Mm-hmm.
He stayed in the service. In fact, he participated in the Berlin airlift, flying and all that. But he didn't live too long after that. He passed away.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, I'm not in touch at all with any of the crew members.
Mm-hmm. The shared experience of that. You went to regular reunions. Did you ever go back to England to where the air base was?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, what was that like?
Where the air base was turned back into farmland.
Back into farmland.
Yeah.
Is there any kind of memorial plaque to it there?
Yeah. In the town of I'd say Bury. Bury.
Uh-huh.
There's a rose garden in the town. Have you been to England?
I have.
Well, then you know what rose gardens and all. Well, in the rose garden, there was a 94th Bomb Group memorial.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all I know about that.
The various. So you've been back there. You've participated in reunions over the years.
Oh,
You've
sure.
kept in touch. You have the history book that was written, a history of the 94th Bomb Group from 42 to 45, and your own participation in that as a waist gunner. We've taken a look at your picture. Now I know there's a jacket. I'm going to go get
Well,
the
here-
jacket.
This,
The big A.
well, here, this is the fellow who wrote this book.
Harry Slater.
I knew him.
He was one of them.
I knew him well.
Mm-hmm. Here he is.
That's when he was in the service.
Uh-huh.
That's after.
Harry Slater. Yeah.
He wrote the book.
There's a guy who wrote this book, and he wrote it to you. It's good to have a historian, a guy who's a historian of the whole thing. The Big Square A, history of the 94th Bomb Group. I'm gonna.
Now see,
Mm-hmm.
this was called the Big Square A
Mhm.
because our bomb group had that emblem on the tail. Every bomb group had a different emblem on the
I'm
tail.
gonna pull this off. Every bomb group had a different emblem. Yours was an A.
Yeah, a square A There was also a bomb group that had a triangular shaped with an A.
The big square A is the 94th Bomb Group. I'm really happy that you were able to keep in touch with everybody over the years, too. I mean, that's an important thing, you know, as far as that goes. Now, I would like to get the jacket. Do we have anything else besides, do you have some other pictures and things maybe we could take a look at?
I wouldn't know what it would be.
All right, hold on just a second. Let's see.
Airplane.
The name of your airplane.
Gremlin Hotel.
Gremlin Hotel. That's the name of your airplane, and this is an actual jacket that you wore
At the time.
at the time. Yep, the Gremlin Hotel. And who painted that on there? Who put that on there?
One of the fellas there on the base was a pretty good painter, and he painted it on.
How about the front of the jacket? Let's see how it looks. Do we have anything? Look
No.
at that. That's quite the look.
That's a regular Air Force jacket.
Now this is what you would sort of wear around on uniform of the day kind of thing,
Yeah.
right? Gremlin Hotel. Look at this. This is a treasure. Look at that. That's fantastic. That's a good looking jacket. Oh, let's. In fact, I'll put it over here. Now, you're a member of. You're also a member of what we call the Lucky Bastard Club. You
Yeah.
want to? That's the 94th group, right?
See here, even members of the crew initialed this, signed this. See the different signatures?
Oh my God! Yeah, they signed it for you, and it says on this 22nd day of June, 1944, the fickle finger of fate finds it expedient to trace on the roll of the Lucky Bastard Club the name of Staff Sergeant Harold W. Rummel, waist gunner, who on this date achieved the remarkable record of having sallied forth and returned no fewer than 30 risky times, bearing tons and tons of H.E. goodwill to the Fuhrer and would-be Fuhrers through the courtesy of the 8th Bomber Command, who sponsors these programs in the interest of government, of the people, by the people, and for the people. So they gave that to you after you got your butt out of there,
Yeah.
you know, for having gotten out of that.
Yeah.
And you've held on to that all these years. That's
Oh,
a
yeah.
very nice thing to remember. Now tell me a little bit about we got some trinkets and some other things that are in
Well-
here. What do you have in there's some pictures and some other.
Well, this is just, some of this is copies of telegrams that my wife got when I was wounded.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, the War Department sent these things.
Right. Good. Some
That's
copies of that. Good things to have to hold on to.
And this is that same picture.
There's that picture. There's another picture of you in here. Is this you here? Let's see. There's some pictures. I saw a picture here.
Oh, that was in Atlantic City when I was down there.
Look at you after the war, sort of chilling out after all that. Yeesh.
That was just somebody snapped that picture. I was sitting there eating an apple in Atlantic City.
It sounds good when you had that on there. And these are some of the telegrams and things and
Yeah.
letters to your wife and stuff like that.
That's what that is.
Yeah, that's nice. Now you got a box of trinkets around here
Well-
somewhere too.
Well, I'll show you what's in here.
Uh-huh.
This, and I don't want to handle these too much because they're fragile,
Okay.
but these are the individual things that were written up when I got those awards.
Good.
For the Air Medal.
Yep.
And one of the oak leaf clusters was for shooting down one aircraft. That's what these things are.
Good. You want to preserve them. That sounds pretty darn nice. Yep.
That's what that is.
Telegrams.
Then this is all just copies of articles that used to be in the home newspapers about different
Uh-huh.
people got wounded and all that stuff.
Stuff to remember by. You got some,
This, in fact, there's an old Purple Heart.
What are you doing with that Purple Heart buried away? Come on.
Air medal.
You know, Harold Rummel. You better.
Dog tag.
Dog tags.
all of these little things.
Trinkets.
These are like cotter pins.
Okay.
Every bomb that we took, there was a cotter pin in the arming on the back tail of the bombs. Before we dropped the bombs, those pins had to be pulled out. And I just saved a pin from every bombing mission.
Wow. Man, oh man.
So that's all that is, junk.
What do we got here? Say, wait a minute. Up, wounded. Here you go, you're wounded. I don't know if
Oh,
you
yeah.
know this, but there's a news story about you.
Oh, well, see, this is all...
Man, look at this. See, look at this guy. What a great picture of you. I can't believe it. Look at this. You look like look at you, Sergeant Rummel. I'm not going to mess with you. This is great. I wonder if we can let me see if I can get this even better under the light. I'm having a hard time. There's Sergeant Rummel. And Sergeant Harold Rummel, wounded. Staff Sergeant Harold Rummel, 22, was wounded in action. I'm going to have to read this.
Now here,
Wounded in action. Oh, man.
I had 3 brothers
Oh, my
in the
gosh.
services.
Oh. 2 are reunited. Holy cow. Staff Sergeant, let's see if I hope. These guys are all good looking. Staff Sergeant Harold Rummel, 23, and his brother Private Clarence, 21, were reunited at home after a separation of 2 years. They are 2 of 4 sons of Mr. and Mrs. J.W. Rummel. Harold's a gunner on a B-17, has been decorated with the Purple Heart for wounds received in action over France. The Air Medal of 4 oak leaf clusters and a presidential citation with 1 oak leaf cluster. He's married to the former Wilda Huey of Seward and has reported to Atlantic City. Yeah, I like that. PFC Clarence, who's married to the former Catherine Donahue of Seward, has returned to Fort Bliss, Texas. The remaining 2 brothers, both in the Navy, are Ernest Rummel, 34, stationed in Miami, and Frank, 18, seaman on duty in the South Pacific. Well,
All 4 of us.
the 4 brothers, I think, I don't tell the other 3 guys, but you're the best looking of them all. So what do we got? Oh man, this is great.
Yeah, well,
Look at these guys.
we're all in the service at the same time.
So you got a presidential citation, huh?
Yeah.
Do you know where that? And how many? A presidential citation
See if it's in here.
with a cluster.
Here it is.
Yeah, with a cluster. Now, folks, I have tears in my eyes, Mr. Rummel.
Huh?
The presidential. What do you have? What are you doing with that presidential citation in a box? Now Come on, that's a presidential unit citation twice. We're not worthy. That's quite a distinctive honor. That means that that the presidential unit citation is awarded for a group.
A group.
In the absence of what? And it's as high an honor as one can get for combat missions. And you have it with an oak leaf cluster. That's pretty remarkable. So, thank you for sharing that. I wonder, you're a very brave man, and we appreciate all that you did. Is there anything that you think that you might want to share? Any final thoughts about your experience with in the service?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Those days are gone by.
Yeah. Well, your country is very grateful for what you did.